way that summer started, I honestly thought moving to Austin was the best decision I'd ever made. And then one random morning at like 5 a.m., I'm standing frozen in my dark kitchen, while some dude in my backyard is dragging out my name and laughing like a full-on movie villain. I'm talking pitch black sky, crickets going off, my AC humming, and then from right outside my back door I hear, "Jenna, I know you're awake," followed by this broken high-low giggle I'd already heard once and never wanted to hear again. It was the kind of laugh that sounds fake at first, and then the longer it goes on, the more your brain goes, "Oh, this is actually insane." In that moment, I wasn't thinking about my job or my neighbors or anything. My entire body just locked up like, how the hell did my awkward unpaid intern end up in my backyard at dawn? 2 months before that, everything was normal. I was 26, living in a small rental house in a quiet Austin neighborhood, working as a graphic designer at this kind of chill marketing agency downtown. Office vibe was super casual. Hoodies, cold brew on tap, people bringing their dogs in on Fridays, just regular millennial Gen Z work chaos. One Monday, HR sends out an email. "Welcome our new summer intern, Kyle." Nobody cared that much. Interns came and went all the time. Usually they were a little awkward, asked too many questions, got people's coffee, then pieced out back to college. So when Kyle walked in, I was expecting that kind of energy. Instead, the second he stepped through the door, the whole room felt off. He was tall and weirdly stiff, pale, long hair that looked like he hadn't decided if he wanted to grow it out or cut it. Big hoodie even though it was Texas heat. And his eyes just lingered, not like shy eye contact, but like he was taking mental screenshots of everyone. At first, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. I've met plenty of socially awkward tech bros. It's whatever. But Kyle wasn't just shy. He was performative in this weird, unsettling way. He'd stand at the corner of people's cubicles without saying anything, almost like he was waiting for his cue in a play. I'd feel him staring and turn around, and he'd do this slow, delayed smile, then pretend he'd just been about to ask something about the printer or the coffee machine. When he did talk, it never matched the vibe of the conversation. One day, we're all in the break room eating tacos, roasting each other's Spotify playlists, and out of nowhere he goes, "You ever feel like someone's watching you even when you're alone at home?" And just locks eyes with me. Everyone kind of chuckled, that awkward haha okay dude laugh. But you could feel the mood drop. I joked, "Bro, that's how you scare off all your friends." And he didn't even crack a real smile. He just tilted his head a little and said, "Depends if you want them to leave." Then went back to microwaving his food like he hadn't just said the creepiest thing ever. Work-wise, he was trash, like objectively. Give him a simple Instagram graphic and he'd take the entire day, come back with something half-finished and weirdly dark, like he'd turned a smoothie ad into a horror poster. Our team lead pulled him aside more than once, sent him official emails about needing to actually do tasks, and stop just wandering around observing. That was his favorite word. "I'm just observing." After those talks, he didn't improve. He just got sneakier about being around me. Suddenly, he was coincidentally showing up everywhere I was. If I went to refill my water bottle, 5 seconds later, he'd appear at the same dispenser. I'd wait for a different elevator, and as the doors closed, he'd slip in last second, standing just a little too close, not saying a word. In the parking garage, he always seemed to be leaving exactly when I was, even though he barely did any work and never looked busy. One night I stayed late to finish a client deck. It was that weird office quiet where you can hear the AC and the occasional cleaning cart, but that's it. I had my headphones on, zoned out, when I suddenly got that someone is behind me feeling. I pulled one earbud out, turned, and nearly jumped out of my chair. Kyle was standing directly behind my desk, like he'd been there a while, just silently watching my screen. I snapped at him instinctively like, "Dude, what the hell? You scared the crap out of me. How long have you been standing there?" And he goes, in this flat voice, "Long enough to know you don't like being alone in quiet buildings." With that same slow, off-timing smile, my skin crawled. I mumbled some excuse about needing to finish up and basically stared at him until he backed away and left. The second he was gone, I texted my manager like, "Hey, not to be dramatic, but Kyle's really creeping me out lately." My manager said they'd keep an eye on it and reminded me they'd already warned him about his performance. A few days later, around 8 p.m., the landline phone at the office rang. Nobody ever called that phone, except random vendors or wrong numbers. I was packing up when it rang again, super persistently. So I sighed and picked it up like, "Hello, company name. This is Jenna." There was nothing but heavy breathing on the other end for a solid 3 seconds. And then that laugh. The same broken, too long, almost cartoonish laugh. But there was nothing funny about it. It just kept going, echoing slightly, like he'd cupped his hand over the receiver. I froze. I didn't say a word, just listened until it cut off mid-giggle, and the line went dead. There was no caller ID that made sense. Just some internal extension that didn't show a normal number. I tried to rationalize it. Someone pranking, a glitch, whatever. But in my gut, I knew it was him. And it hit me. I'd never given Kyle my personal number. The only phone he knew for sure was that landline. HR finally got sick of his observing and fired him from the internship. They told him straight up it wasn't working out. He wasn't doing any real work. He was ignoring instructions, and multiple people had complained about feeling uncomfortable. Apparently, he just stared at them while they talked, then asked if this would impact his future opportunities, which is such a wild thing to say when you've literally done nothing but be weird all summer. After that, he just stopped showing up. No goodbye, nothing. I'll be real. The whole office low-key sighed in relief. I assumed that was it. Creepy intern era, over. Then came that morning. My alarm hadn't even gone off yet. It was a little before 5 a.m. Sky still pitch black. House super quiet. I woke up because I heard what sounded like someone crunching on the gravel just outside my back door. At first, I thought it was a raccoon or one of the neighborhood cats. But then there was this soft dragging sound, like a shoe slowly sliding on concrete. I sat up, heart already beating faster, listening. The sound stopped. I told myself I was being paranoid, got up to grab some water, didn't turn on too many lights because I didn't want to advertise that I was awake. I was standing at my kitchen counter with just the stove light on when I heard it. From right outside the back door, through the thin glass window clear as day. Jenna, stretched out, almost sing-songy. Every hair on my body stood up. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just stood there, staring at that dark rectangle of glass over my sink. Then he said, louder this time, "I know you're awake," followed by that same horrific broken laugh from the office phone. It was undeniably him. I could picture his face in my head, that slightly delayed smile, those 2 long pauses. This laugh sounded even more unhinged, echoing around my tiny backyard like a bad horror movie. Except this wasn't a movie. Somebody who should not know where I live was right on the other side of my door at 5 in the freaking morning, entertaining himself by calling my name and laughing. My fight or flight straight up short-circuited. All I could manage was slowly backing out of the kitchen, grabbing my phone off the table, and whisper dialing 911. While it was ringing, he started saying my name again. Softer now, like he was trying to coax a pet. "Jenna, you should look outside." I did not look outside. I went into my bedroom, locked the door, dragged my dresser in front of it with shaking hands, and told the operator there was a man in my backyard who'd followed me from work. By the time the cops actually rolled up and did their little flashlight sweep, of course, he was gone. No broken glass, no forced entry, no damage, just some messed up footprints in the dirt by my back steps and a shoe scuff on the concrete. Because he technically hadn't broken in and hadn't said, "I'm going to hurt you," the cops were basically like, "Yeah, that's super creepy, but there's not much we can do without proof it was him or a direct threat." They took a report, drove around the block a couple times, and told me to call if he comes back. I wanted to scream. He already came back. That's why you're here. But I was too freaked to even argue. I told my manager everything later that day, and they confirmed Kyle had been officially terminated from the internship a week earlier, and HR had no forwarding info, except what he'd put on his application. No one ever saw him around the building again. He didn't email, didn't call the office, didn't pull up on me in the parking lot. Nothing. It was like he just vanished. For months after, I slept with a chair under the doorknob and a baseball bat next to my bed. Every time my motion light flipped on in the backyard, my heart would damn near fall out of my chest. Eventually, just to calm myself down enough to function, I started telling myself he had to have some kind of untreated mental illness or social disorder. Like his brain just didn't compute boundaries and basic human interaction. It doesn't excuse what he did, but it was the only way I could frame it, so I didn't spiral every time I remembered his voice at my back door. A year later, I ended up quitting that job and moving to a different part of the city. I never heard that laugh again, but anytime someone at work mentions a new intern now, there's a tiny, messed up part of me that braces for the sound of my name being dragged out from the dark.